Përshëndetje të dashur bashkëdhetar, ndodhemi në Staten Island në restorantin Staten ku diaspora shqiptaro-amerikane po suporton kandidatin për në Kongresin Amerikan, Max Rose. Është kënaqësi për komunitetin shqiptar të suportojë këta kandidat që kanë dhënë një kontribut për Amerikën, kanë dhënë kontribut për botën, i cili ka qenë një ushtar i plagosur në Afganistan dhe njëkohësisht premton se do të bëjë shumë dhe për komunitetin shqiptar. Për më shumë ju lëm të ndiqni kronikën e përgatitur nga televizioni Alba Live. Për televizionin Alba Live, Kozeta Zylo, New York.
All right, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out here again. My name is Carl Sanford. I'm Max Rose's campaign manager. Why don't we give one more round of applause for General Wesley K.Clark. To start this off, we're going to play the national anthem. Everyone, please stand. Next up, we're going to have the Albanian national anthem, so please stand up one more time. Thank you. I want to start it off by inviting Ariana Kovanji, Albanian resident of Staten Island, to say a few words.
General Wesley Clark, West Point valedictorian, Oxford Rhodes Scholar, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, Supreme Allied Commander, Chairman, and Chief Executive Officer. Most of us would consider ourselves lucky to achieve one of these titles in our lifetime. For our next guest, this is a condensed short list of just some of his accomplishments. But I would like to actually go so far as to say none of these prestigious titles do General Clark the justice he deserves. Rather, there's only one title that really matters when describing General Clark, and that's a hero. A hero that freed Kosovo from Slobodan Milosevic's reign of terror. I speak on behalf of the entire Albanian community to say thank you. To say thank you with the most profound levels of appreciation and gratitude. It is because of you we are able to gather here in this room in peace and prosperity. On a personal note, my mother was actually 7 months pregnant with me during the NATO bombings. It is because of that which eventually ultimately led into her immigrating to the US, which led her to having me. And it is because of you that I am here today. So on behalf of our family, I would like to say thank you so much. On behalf of Kosovo, I would like to say thank you. On behalf of the Albanian community, here and over there, we would like to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our real-life hero, General Wesley Clark. I would like to ask Safet Doci and Metin Mloya from Albanian roots to present General Wesley Clark with a gift as a token of our appreciation. This painting is of George Kastrioti, or as you know him, Skanderbeg, who freed Albania from the Turks. Okay, I would also like to ask the rest of the crowd who has gifts, now is the time to please bring them up to... Next, I would like to welcome and introduce Purple Heart and Bronze Heart veteran, former Congressman Max Rose.
Thank you so much for those really incredibly kind words. General, I hope it's okay, but I'm going to start off actually by thanking your amazing wife, Gert, who, we know that she has been by your side each and every day, and those flowers are a testament to the entire community's extraordinary gratitude for your service as well. General Clark, I can't tell you what an amazing honor it is for all of us here that you would fly all the way from your home in Arkansas to come visit us. Because I don't know about you, in fact I do know about you, it is my opinion that General Wesley Clark is the greatest living general in the history. The greatest living general in all of America, all of the world. So, this district, New York 11, all of Staten Island and South Brooklyn, is home to the largest Albanian American community of any congressional district in the United States of America. And there's not a lot of people that my campaign invites to join us. Certainly not a lot of Democrats. But when you look at General Clark's incredible service, I cannot think of anyone that would represent, forget about my campaign, the values of this nation more. You look at his career, and I'm a lowly major in the Army Reserve, so for those of you that don't understand, I think you all do. A general is an enormous deal. Held every single command position throughout the military. Served valiantly in combat himself. Being injured, awarded the highest awards possible in combat. And then you move on to the war in Kosovo. I think history has forgotten this war. I know our families, this community has not. But America stood for its values when it came to the war in Kosovo. You see, we pushed aside this idea that America only acts when it's in our small, little national interest. We pushed all that whole ideology aside, and we said, if people are suffering, if people are being killed, if there's genocide anywhere in the world, America must lead the way to stop it. You know, when I think about when I enlisted in the military, it was with the idea that I could just play one small part in helping to continue fulfill that mandate. Just one small part. That's why every soldier enlists. There's so many stories, so many beautiful stories in our community that are only possible because, sir, of your leadership, because of America's involvement in that war, because of America's leadership. So many small stories. And I stand before you as well as a Jew. You know, America did not get involved nearly early enough in World War II, and millions of Jews died. Millions. And America stood on the sidelines. America stands on the sidelines today for far too many crises. But for one brief moment, America didn't do that. And it is because of General Clark and his incredible leadership. That is why. So let's give him another round of applause. Please stand, please. So it is my extraordinary honor to invite up to the stage, again, the greatest living general, General Wesley Clark. Thank you, sir.
You people are so wonderful. I'm so proud of the Albanian American community, and I'm proud of Albania and Kosovo. I was there right after Labor Day. I met with Eddie Rama in Albania. We drove up the highway, the new highway, to Kukish. It was about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I came through that cut in that highway, and I looked down into Kosovo. The lights were on. There was traffic moving. There were stores open as we drove up toward Pristina. God, it was so beautiful. Now, Max is, I appreciate what Max said, but actually, the reason Kosovo is independent is because of you. It's because of the Kosovo Liberation Army. And it's because of the strong support from Albanians all over Europe and all over the world to stop Serb ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. You stopped it. Now, I'm here for 2 reasons. Number one is, I want you to re-elect Max Rose to the United States Congress. I think he represents the best of American values. He grew up in Brooklyn. He knows America. He studied abroad in Europe. He served in uniform, got wounded, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. So he showed his courage on the battlefield. Came back, showed his courage running for political office. He was the congressman for this district. Something really terrible happened. He needs to be back in the United States Congress, and I'm asking you to put him back there. It's always dangerous, when a general goes into politics. First of all, they don't have any troops to command. Secondly, most of the time they don't know what they're doing. And they can be easily misled. So I've been associated with politics now since I made my run for president in 2003. I had a lot of great support from Staten Island, by the way, and for those of you that supported me then, thank you for that. But where we are in this country now is bigger than any political race. I'm looking at what's happening in Ukraine. I made 2 trips since the summer to Kyiv. Met with the top generals, talked to all the political leaders there, met with the press, got a real sense for what's happening. It's amazing. It is so much like what happened to Kosovo. It feels exactly the same. This is a big country trying to stamp out the people in a smaller country. It's bullies, it's murder, and it's ethnic cleansing like you've never seen before. There's no telling how many Ukrainians have been killed, kidnapped, or otherwise disposed of by the Russians. They've taken tens of thousands of children and sent them to Russia. They go through these filtration camps and they ask people for their phones and they look at who they talk to. If you talk to the wrong person, they're not afraid yet of war crimes trials, but they should be, because they're committing genocide over there. And right now they're on a losing end. Honestly, the Russian military is not doing very well in comparison to the Ukrainians. Ukrainians said they've had the benefits from U.S. training. They're getting a lot of U.S. equipment. And after the Russians tried to seize Kyiv, they discovered that actually the Ukrainians didn't want to be Russians. Amazing thing. And then they tried to kill everybody with artillery over in the Donbass area. And they did. They inflicted horrendous casualties, but the Ukrainians stood firm. And now there's a counteroffensive underway for Kherson. And it looks like it's going to succeed, but it's going to be slow, difficult, painful going. I was in Kosovo summer of 2021. I met Prime Minister Kurti for the first time, good man. And I told him what I thought was going to happen in Ukraine. And when we were working Kosovo, there were some Ukrainians on the wrong side of that operation. A couple of them got captured by the KLA. I don't know whatever happened to them, but I asked them to be brought up to along with the Russians that were captured, to be brought up there to Mons, Belgium, where my headquarters was. I never could get a hold of them, and it was over before I could get them. But believe me, in Kosovo today, Prime Minister Kurti understands exactly the significance of what's going on in Ukraine. Exactly. So does the President of Macedonia. I had a nice conversation with Artan Grube, whom some of you know in North Macedonia. I talked to Eddie Rama. They all know what this is about. They know that if Putin gets his way in Ukraine, the Balkans is going to erupt in conflict again. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're all in this together. Those Ukrainians, they're fighting for our values. And they're fighting for the freedom and independence of Kosovo, believe it or not, and Albania, and North Macedonia, because all of that is at risk. Now, what can you do to help? In war, we have something we call the center of gravity. When you're analyzing a campaign, you're asking, okay, what's the power of the campaign? What is it that makes it move? Not just the artillery or the infantry, but what is it that's the center of power of driving it? When Putin looks at what's happening in Ukraine, of course he's looking at the Ukrainian military, doesn't like them. But that's not the center of gravity. If Ukraine loses, yeah, it's a big deal. Putin looks at it and he says, the way I'm going to win this war, I'm going to win it in America. And you say, he's going to win it in America? How could he win it in America? How could he do that? Because he's got one political party that seems to be in his favor. He's got a former president who is a cheerleader for genocide. It's shocking. It's so un-American. It is so foreign to our values. But he believes if he can get his people in office, that the rest will follow. So that the center of the conflict in many ways is the American political system. I know it's wrong, it's unfair. But you know, people all over the world, they look at the United States and they say, you know, you Americans, you vote in these elections, you're always worried on things like inflation and the price of gasoline and stuff like that. So, but the President of the United States and his power, it's the most important power in the world. And what the President can't do that much in domestic policy, really. I mean, the President doesn't control inflation. I hear people saying, Biden's inflation. That's not Biden's inflation, that's the world's inflation. It's a function of COVID, it's a function of Putin and cutting off the grain. It's a function of the Saudis and cutting the supply of oil back. It's not a function of the President of the United States, but I'll tell you what the President of the United States does do. He's the foreign policy leader of the world. What he can do in foreign policy, that's his greatest power. What his statement is, where he sends the U.S. military, what Bill Clinton did for you all in Kosovo. My wife and I were fortunate enough to be back in Pristina in the summer of 2019. I don't know if any of you were there, but Hashim Thaci was the president, and he wanted to honor Madeleine Albright. He knew she was sick, I guess, and so they unveiled a statue of Madeleine Albright. They invited my wife and me and my grandkids back to see it. President Clinton was there. And President Clinton told us afterwards, he said, support of Kosovo was the most important thing I did in my presidency. Imagine that. Now, in this election, you're going to hear a lot about local issues. And I looked at what Max is standing for. I agree with everything he's standing for. He wants to get the money out of politics. Darn blank. Because to get the money out of politics, it's not one person, one vote. Big businesses throw that money into the political races, and you don't know where it's coming from, and you don't know what it stands for. And you voted, but your vote didn't count as much as some company somewhere else in the country that put money into some race. That's wrong. That's not democracy as I believe it should be. He wants to do something to help control the spread of firearms in the United States. Gun control. Yeah. I mean, honestly, what other country has the kind of murder rate that we have and then school shootings and stuff? Imagine. I got to take pictures with these two young men over here. Imagine being in school and being told, duck and cover or run out. Here's what's going to happen. Active shooter, active shooter. We don't have to put up with that. That's entirely within the control of the political process. You elect the right people in Congress, you can stop the active shooter drills. You can make this country safe for your children. And I believe in women's rights. One of the great revolutions of the 21st century is actually women count. Yeah, believe that. Not only do they have children, they help raise families, they actually have minds. They have voices. They have values. And they speak. It's one of the great benefits of modern civilization. So Max is on the right side of all those issues. And he's going to fight for them in Congress. But that's not the only reason you got to get out and vote for Max. The reason is that you got to send a message to Vladimir Putin that Trumpism and Trump, closing up to Russia, all that kind of nonsense, that's not America. And he is not going to win. I'm tired of some of these Republican pollsters going out there and saying, oh, this is a big red wave coming. I'm tired of hearing Tucker Carlson advocate Putin being right about everything. I'm tired of my friends who are Republicans saying, well, it's going to be a Republican Congress. A red wave is coming. Biden, we're going to impeach you. We're going to stop what's going on in Ukraine. Yeah, we're going to pull America back. Sure tired of hearing that. But, you know, I'm just one person. I'm just a retired general. I don't have any soldiers out there. I don't have a big company. I can't put $10 million into some political race. But you know what they say in politics? They said this election is about you. This election is about you. If you believe in what we did for Kosovo, if you believe that America should lead in helping others in the world achieve the kind of freedom, democracy, and values that we enjoy in America, then you've got to vote for Max. Because he's going to get in Congress and he's going to make sure we live up to those values. Am I right? Now here's the second truth about elections. There's a lot of people that don't pay much attention to them, especially young people. Now those of you who were in Kosovo during the bombing campaign and have been through that, and I was riding with a gentleman over here who has been through it, and this lovely lady who introduced me, her mother, her parents have been through it. You know what democracy is all about, and you know what fighting for freedom is all about. I was in a Starbucks a couple of hours ago, and there were a lot of innocent young people in there, and I said, well, are you going to vote in the election? They said, election? Election? Is there an election? And somebody said, vote? Really? Really? You see, this is the crazy thing about it. We fight for freedom. People here have been wounded and lost their arms fighting for freedom. 40% of the people, 50%, don't even vote in an election. How can that be? Okay, but who can fix that? You can. You can. You can go to your children, your neighbors, the people you go to work with, your relatives across the country, the people in Miami or Detroit or New Jersey or wherever they've moved to, and you can tell them, you better vote. That's what we've been fighting for 200 and some odd years in this country. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have died in 200,000 in 200 years plus for our right to vote. 40% of the people in this country, it's like, oh, the vote wouldn't make any difference? Are you kidding me? You know what the Republicans want to do? They want to take away Social Security. They want to take away Medicare. They want to take away the ability to control prescription drug costs. They want to open up for more guns in the streets. That's not the country I want to be in. And it's probably not the country that most of these young people who don't vote want to be in either. But maybe they don't think their vote makes a difference. Well, I was here in 2000. I just retired. And I watched the presidential election come down to a recount in the state of Florida. And it was just a few hundred votes out of millions. And it happens in every election. Just a few votes. Now, you don't know when you vote whether it's your vote that's going to make a difference. But your vote will make a difference if you vote. So, I'm really honored by what you said today. I'm really touched. And I did come back from going to Macedonia and Kosovo and Albania and into Ukraine a few weeks ago. And I listened to those European leaders talk about this election. And I was chilled. And I read about that red wave. that's supposedly coming, and I listen to Tucker Carlson sometimes, and not very often, but sometimes in a video clip, and I say, boy, we can't let that happen. We can't. This election's about you. If you vote for Max, if you vote and put the right people in office, in the Senate, in the Congress, in your local communities, we can bring about the right kind of America for you and your children. And we can send a strong message to Vladimir Putin. No more ethnic cleansing. No more empowering Mr. Vucic in Belgrade. No more honoring... No more honoring the memory of Slobodan Milosevic, or worrying about General Radko Mladic, who's in The Hague today. No, we're stopping that ethnic cleansing now. We can stop it with our votes in this election. Please, make it happen. Come up here, Max. Okay, now let's make it happen, okay? Let's put a mark together. Let's put a mark together. I always hear people say they like Donald Trump because he fights for us. Well, they're wrong. Donald Trump fights for himself. And the reason is because he does a lot of things he shouldn't be doing. That's why he has to fight. This is a guy who will fight for you. He's proved it, and he will fight for the right things. So let's get him in office.